Hey, Buff. Need a hand?
No, thanks. I'm good.
It spawned one of the most rabid fan bases in television history. In 1997, Buffy the Vampire Slayer gave audiences a high school experience like no other. A supernatural drama with a fearless hero.
I'm the thing that monsters have nightmares about.
A few sexy vampires.
The demon takes your body, but it doesn't get your soul.
And a slew of teenagers turned heroes in the battle of good versus evil. Now, 20 years later, EW is bringing the cast of Buffy back for an unforgettable reunion.
We don't have potluck dinners together.
I make an excellent macaroni casserole if anybody's interested in getting a potluck.
Are you available Friday?
Yeah.
Yes!
This is surreal. This is like a high school reunion, but much worse because they all still look really great.
The following program.
Modern style.
We haven't been properly introduced. I'm Buffy, and you're history.
The story of Buffy the Vampire Slayer began back in 1990 when 26-year-old TV writer Joss Whedon came up with a twist on the typical horror movie.
Joss Whedon got his start as a writer on Roseanne and the short-lived comedy Parenthood. But really his first big break was when he sold the screenplay for the Buffy the Vampire Slayer film.
It was the first screenplay I ever wrote. It came from my love of horror movies and my love of telling people how they should change what they're doing, because I felt very upset about the horror movies killing all the girls, particularly the blonde party girl. I was like, what's that deal? So I had the idea right out of college.
What he did with the Buffy movie was essentially take the everyday girl that kind of gets killed in the horror movie in the first scene and kind of flip it on its head and take that paradigm where instead of being the victim, she's actually the hero, and she's the most powerful, strongest person in the movie.
The 1992 film was about a California cheerleader who finds out she's the chosen one.
I've been chosen, Buffy,
Do what?
to stop the vampires.
Does Elvis talk to you?
Christy Swanson played Buffy. Donald Sutherland was her mentor. And of course, Luke Perry was the love interest in the film.
Buffy, you're not like other girls.
The movie was fun, it was campy, it did okay at the box office, but it really got away from the initial vision that Joss had, and he's been pretty open about the fact that it wasn't exactly what he intended it to be.
It got made, not, was different. I imagined more of a horror movie.
After the Buffy movie, he kind of worked around in Hollywood as a script doctor. He worked on Toy Story, he worked on Alien Resurrection.
A few years later, the people who actually owned the rights to the film approached Joss and asked him if he would be interested in turning it into a TV series.
When it was proposed as a TV show and I really started thinking about it, that I said, oh, there's something to do here beyond just, punching a genre in the face. There's something to say about people. I didn't realize how much I would do, how far I would get, but that was the genesis of kind of my career as a storyteller at all, instead of just a yarn spinner, was going, okay, high school is hell. Yeah, I can work with that. I can make people feel what these guys are going through and not just go, ooh, exciting.
It's dead.
Yep.
Whedon pitched the show as a X-Files meets My So-Called Life drama, which basically meant it would take the Monster of the Week format and merge it with an angsty teen drama.
It took everyday high school problems, people stealing your boyfriend, cheating on tests, bad teachers, bad parents, and really kind of making them almost into monsters themselves.
Can I say one thing?
Help! Joss set the show in the fictional California town of Sunnydale.
Have a good time. I know you're going to make friends right away. Just think positive.
And he put the high school on top of a gateway to the demon underworld, which he called a hellmouth.
This is the type of world where witches, vampires, demons, all these things exist. Strange stuff happens all the time.
All right, yes, date and shop and hang out and go to school and save the world from unspeakable demons. I want to do girly stuff.
In 1997, Buffy the Vampire Slayer was greenlit by the WB network. 18-year-old Sarah Michelle Gellar landed the title role.
Thank you. And look, I won't go far, okay? If the apocalypse comes, beat me.
Geller was a child actress who did a lot of national commercials, which is kind of funny when you look back at it now.
I just found out right now a regular hamburger is only 39 cents at Burger King.
Sarah Michelle Gellar also had already won a Daytime Emmy for playing Kendall Hart in All My Children.
Mona Kane Tyler, survived by her daughter, Erica Kane, and her granddaughter, Bianca Montgomery. A granddaughter? What about me?
I think most people know I was originally cast as Cordelia initially, and did you not know that?
Didn't know that.
Yes, the original round, and I went through 3 or 4 auditions and 2 tests, and then they still hadn't found a Buffy, and they said, do you want to come back on, a Monday and try again? And I got the role.
Are you ready for this?
I don't know. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea. I think in the writing and in the concept, we knew that there was really something there, and I thought this could be really fun and something different.
Is that more vampires?
Must be the weather.
Sarah Michelle Gellar was the perfect actress for the role. She was smart and snarky and witty. She also had a great emotional depth and can also really kick butt.
You know very well you eat this late, you're gonna get heartburn. Get it? Heartburn? I remember casually mentioning that I had my brown belt in Taekwondo. They made it seem like, okay, well, it's not a big deal. Like, we weren't looking for that. We were going to train whoever got the role. And then Joss told me, like, years later, they were like, what? But I wouldn't have known that on the day. They all seemed like, oh.
23-year-old Allison Hannigan was cast as Buffy's best friend, Willow.
It's all about emotional control. Plus, obviously, magic.
Today, Allison Hannigan is known for her role on How I Met Your Mother and, of course, the American Pie movies. But at the time, she was a little-known actress who actually had to audition several times for the part.
I kind of have this burning desire not to flunk all my classes, and I heard a rumor that you were the person to talk to if I wanted to get caught up.
Oh, I could totally help you out. If you have 6th period free, we could meet in the library.
When you first meet Willow, she's this bookworm. She has no confidence whatsoever. And one of the greatest character arcs of the entire series was really watching her come into her own with her magic and her powers, and really just her confidence in who she was.
The magics I used are very powerful. I'm very powerful, and maybe it's not such a good idea for you to piss me off.
So I had gone in and read with Sarah and Nick. I couldn't say the lines to save my life, but the chemistry I thought was good.
I knew the second she came in the room, I was like, oh, that's her, obviously.
And then I ran into Nick at, Formosa Cafe, and he said something very cryptic, like, don't worry about it. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean I got it, or just don't worry about it because I didn't get it? And I was like, this is awful. And so, a week later, they called and told me.
That's right, big boy. Come and get it.
The role of Xander, Buffy's friend and ally, was filled by 26-year-old newcomer Nicholas Brendan.
You're in love with a vampire? What, are you out of your mind?
What?
Not vampire. How could you love an umpire? Everyone hates him.
Nicholas Brendan, who was actually just a PA at the time, auditioned, got the part because he was the perfect sidekick.
Private Harris reporting for Buffy. Lady of Buffdom, Duchess of Buffonia, I am in awe.
So people are saying, so why did you take this part? I'm like, it took me. I wasn't really at a point in my career. I was acting for 3 months at that time. And it was at the end. We had 6 days after I booked the part, and then we started shooting. So it was 2 days of elation. And then, can we curse on this? Okay. And then 2 days of I couldn't, I don't know if I can do this.
I laugh in the face of danger. Then I hide until it goes away.
28-year-old David Boreanaz played Angel, the hunky vampire with a soul who wins Buffy's heart.
As much as I hate to say this, we should really go kill bad guys.
David Boreanaz, he had most recently starred on Married with Children as Kelly's boyfriend.
Sir, I hope you don't mind. I'm taking your daughter out tomorrow for her birthday.
No kidding, it's your birthday?
From the moment that you see Buffy meet Angel, you just know this is going to be a love story for the series.
Why are you following me?
I know what you're thinking. Don't worry, I don't bite.
I got a call to go in and read for this character. It was 6 out of 12, I think it was. It was a short arc character. So I went in and read the scene. It was very brief. I was like, I don't know, I can't really remember what it was. I think it was falling off a motorcycle or something, and then I did this flip and saved her. Or there was something mysterious and brooding about it, because Angel was all brooding in the beginning.
In the beginning?
Yeah. Right.
David Boreanaz came in and read, and after he left, I turned to the women in the room, and they were just puddles. There were just puddles next to me, and I was like, well, I guess we're casting this one then. Like, they just, yeah, he had that thing. It wasn't just that she was with somebody dark, she found a darkness in herself. Because at that point she was comfortable in her power. And that's how I invented television. You're welcome.
I'm up, Mom.
Don't want to be late for your first day.
In 1997, the WB greenlit Buffy the Vampire Slayer as a mid-season replacement for their Monday night lineup.
Who are you? Don't you know?
Creator Joss Whedon was trusting an 18-year-old, Sarah Michelle Gellar, to carry the series, and wanted to surround her with a strong supporting cast.
It was so hard to put this cast together. It was a very long, arduous process.
So you're saying these vampires went to all this hassle for your basic decoder ring?
Actually, yes, I suppose I am.
Buffy's success as a Slayer depended on the guidance of her mentor, Rupert Giles. 43-year-old Anthony Stewart Head landed the vital role.
Into each generation, a Slayer is born. One girl in all the world, a chosen one born with a
strength and skill to hunt the vampires, to stop the spread of their evil blah, blah, blah. I've heard it, okay?
Being British, you'd think Anthony Stewart would have been in tea commercials, but actually he started a very famous coffee commercial.
Just imagine if you hadn't run out of coffee.
Just imagine if you hadn't had Taster's Choice.
Giles is part of this order, and he's a watcher, and his job is to kind of watch over Buffy and the Slayer and to kind of help guide her and really be her mentor and help her out through her struggles.
As the Watcher, Giles was the father figure of the entire series, but certainly to Buffy.
I was raised by teachers, and my mom taught at my school, where I went for 10 years, so I always had an insight into the fact that they were just as tortured as we were and working much harder. That's why Giles was such an important character for me.
27-year-old Charisma Carpenter played the sharp-tongued Cordelia.
I love the hair. It just screams street urchin.
Of course, in every high school, you have to have the queen bee, and in Sunnydale, that was Cordelia.
Somebody is after me. This is all about me. Me.
Wow, for once she's right.
Cordelia began the show as the typical mean girl, but over time, the show revealed her depths, and she eventually became an ally to Buffy after Buffy saved her.
You did it. You saved us. I've never been so happy to see anyone in my whole... You guys. I just hate you guys.
My character, Cordelia, grew so much and became more fleshed out and more human and understood pain of the world and what her purpose was. And then she grew and got to be more likable and lovable.
Right. Now I'm going to be stuck with serious thoughts all day.
After Angel left the series for his own spin-off, Buffy developed another vampire crush in season 5. 38-year-old James Marsters played the polarizing bad boy, Spike.
Well, that's a boatload of manly responsibility to come flying out of nowhere. What's the matter, Slayer? You're not feeling 100%?
James Marsters did theater before this, but this was really his first big role. And also, not British. He's from Texas. Blew my mind.
I just told my agent, no, I'm not going to do that. I saw the movie. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to be in that. But they said it was Tuesday night, and they said it's on, in about 15 minutes. Why don't you watch it and call us back after the show? And then 15 minutes into watching you guys, I was like, get me on that show. Yeah.
When you first meet Spike, he is hardcore evil.
Come on, people. This isn't a spectator spot.
And then as you get to know him more and he gets a bigger role in the show, it's more of a gray area. And once he starts to interact with Buffy more, he really falls for her. He really fights to get a soul back because he thinks she might like him that way.
Take me out of a world that has you in it. Just kill me.
I wanted to talk about an unhealthy relationship. And it was borderline abusive till it actually became abusive on both sides. It wasn't just that she was with somebody dark, she found a darkness in herself. This has to do with the consequences of power, because at that point she was comfortable in her power. And And that's how I invented television. You're welcome.
It really never works.
23-year-old Seth Green was already a seasoned actor when he landed the role of Oz, the guitar-playing werewolf.
At the time, a lot of people knew Seth Green from the Austin Powers movies as Dr. Evil's son, Scott.
So, what do you want to do, Scott? I don't know. I was thinking I like animals. Maybe I'd be a vet.
An evil vet?
No. Maybe like work in a petting zoo.
An evil petting zoo?
You always do that!
Oz gets into a tickle fight with his little cousin, who turns out is a werewolf, and bit him.
I wanted to ask you something. Is Jordy a werewolf? Uh-huh. And how long has that been going on?
So Oz became a werewolf. Willow actually discovered that he was a werewolf while they were dating.
This was the first time I got to play like a real romantic lead that wasn't like a novelty joke, kiss of the girl kind of thing.
And now we're probably just gonna die, and I'd like to feel that maybe you would...
So that was fun.
You were a leading man.
You were a
I got
leading
to
man.
play guitar and fight dudes with my fists, kiss a girl and have people be like, oh, that's a good thing.
A werewolf in love.
One of the biggest twists of Buffy the Vampire Slayer was the introduction of her sister Dawn in season 4.
What are you doing here?
But the twist was that everyone on the show acted as if she had been there the entire time.
Buffy, if you're going out, why don't you take your sister?
Mom!
When you have a world that's highly set in mythology, you can kind of make up your own rules, and maybe that is introducing a character 4 seasons in.
I introduced Dawn because I felt like there was a dynamic I hadn't seen. Sibling stuff is different than friend stuff, and we hadn't gotten to play any of that.
Doesn't matter where you came from or how you got here. You are my sister.
14-year-old Michelle Trachtenberg was cast as Dawn 4 years after starring in the Nickelodeon film Harriet the Spy.
I was a fan first because I was a huge fan of the show. I went and read for Joss and Marty, again, like you said, like 3 pages. And I was like, I really like Willow, and she's like really cool clothes and stuff. And we looked like sisters, but I was a fan. It was really prevalent throughout my whole school how big Buffy was an influence.
I wish Buffy Summers had never come to Sunnydale.
Done.
24-year-old Emma Caulfield played Anya, the vengeance demon.
She's 1,000 years old, and she grants wishes to women who are scorned in some way and want vengeance on some guy. And also my favorite character.
And she's there to help Cordelia, who had just been cheated on by her boyfriend Xander. And by the end of the episode, Giles enacts the spell, and she is actually turned back into her human form.
I was feared and worshipped across the mortal globe, and now I'm stuck at Sunnydale High. Mortal. Child. And I'm flunking math.
What was supposed to be a 1-episode appearance became a 5-year gig.
Yeah, I was hired for a guest star. That was all it was supposed to be. And then I was asked back, and then it was like, hey, I'm sure we'll see you again. And that just kept happening until one day I was there. Forever. I don't have a date for the prom.
Well, gosh, I wonder why not. It couldn't possibly have anything to do with your sales pitch.
Men are evil. Will you go with me? I have no idea why he paired us up.
Because it was TV magic? I mean, really?
You're funny and you're nicely shaped, and frankly, it's ludicrous to have these interlocking bodies and not interlock. Please remove your clothing now.
Sparks flew.
Sparks flew.
It's good. It just worked.
Welcome to Sunnydale. A clean slate, Buffy. That's what you get here. What's past is past.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer premiered in March 1997 on the WB. At the time, the network had only been around for 2 years and was still finding its audience.
Now, this is not going to be pretty. We're talking violence, strong language, adult content.
But with nearly 5 million viewers tuning in, the first episode was a huge success.
See what happens when you roughhouse? I think we were fortunate that the expectation was pretty low. I mean, you're a mid-season replacement on a network that nobody knew based on a less than successful movie, and I thought, great, I can pay my rent this month. I don't think any of us saw this.
No way.
Buffy quickly became a hit and allowed the WB to brand itself as a destination for teen audiences.
Fans were the only ones who loved the show. Critics also celebrated it for its witty dialogue and its well-written female characters.
I'm gonna give you all a nice, fun, normal evening if I have to kill every single person on the face of the earth to do it.
Yay?
This show really found its audience, and people didn't really like Buffy, they loved Buffy. People were really obsessive about it. It was a very cult show.
Oh, look, it's the Three Musketeers.
The show took off much faster than we expected. We just assumed we were going to make something good that was fun and people would have fun and not notice that it was good. That we were doing that part for ourselves.
It was utilizing the horrors of adolescence manifested through these actual monsters.
Not wrong about that. And the critics and the audience instantly understood and appreciated the metaphor completely. There was no hiding behind anything. They knew what we were doing and they were into it. It was startling.
I love you. I try not to, but I can't stop.
That's the grandest love story I will ever tell. You can't argue with that.
Maybe we shouldn't.
Just kiss me.
Guys, take a moment to deal with this. We survived.
It was a hell of a battle.
Not the battle. High school.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer premiered in March 1997. The show was an immediate hit, largely because creator Joss Whedon gave audiences something they'd never seen: a snarky, supernatural coming-of-age drama set in high school.
Now that was fun.
What I realized was the creator was given this ultimate freedom to just sort of tell the story his way, which is super rare. The network wasn't breathing down and trying to over-control. Everybody got to be in their creative realm and to do what they were meant to do.
Critics and audiences alike, they really were quick to realize that this wasn't just some freak of the week show. This was a show that had depth, that had layers, and had a really clear tone and voice that was unique to TV.
The show was really revolutionary for its time. It mixed genres, it was tongue-in-cheek, it was smart.
No weapon forged can stop me.
That was then. This is now.
What's that do?
Buffy was really built around this strong female character, but what the fans ultimately were drawn to, besides the mythology and this fantastical world, was how much it was really speaking to them.
It celebrates all these important things like being young, evolving, becoming yourself, having friends, the relationships you have with your family, defining yourself, what's your purpose. You're running from your purpose and then facing it. There's a lot of loyalty. I think it's all very positive.
Buffy, what is going on?
One of the great things about the show is that it really linked these real-world problems to supernatural storylines.
Mom, I'm a vampire slayer.
When Buffy finally admits to her mom that she's a slayer, it was very much like a kid coming out to her parents that they're gay.
Honey, are you sure you're a vampire slayer?
There's even a line that her mom says where, "Have you ever tried not being a slayer?"
I mean, have you tried not being a slayer?
Buffy's mother, Joyce Summers, was played by 42-year-old Christine Sutherland.
I think one of its biggest themes was that in the beginning, just in terms of maturity, the world was black and white, and what was evil and what was good was really clear. And as Buffy grew up, the world became much more gray.
Adulting is hard.
Yeah, yeah.
It's because you didn't have a strong father figure, isn't it?
It's just fate, Mom. I'm the slayer. Accept it.
Buffy was also one of the first network shows to depict a romantic relationship between two female characters.
There definitely hadn't been a character that had been on a show from the beginning. Right. Perhaps there was like, here's a special character that we're introducing, that's the gay character. But this was a character that was from the beginning, and you got to see the journey. So that, I think, was very groundbreaking. Willow, I know it's late, but I thought maybe, if you still wanted to do something.
Willow had boyfriends, she dated Oz, but really nothing had clicked until she met Tara.
I'd have to be your anchor. Keep you on this plane. I trust you. It's not like anything that we've ever... I trust you.
Tara was played by 23-year-old Amber Benson.
This is Tara. Hi.
It was a beautiful relationship, and it wasn't gratuitous. It wasn't about two girls making out. It was about two people who both happened to identify as female, who fall in love. They were good to each other. They treated each other well. A normal relationship. You normalize it. You make it okay, because it is okay.
Yeah, the fact that it was such a really a non-issue was so great.
Exactly.
You know, and that's how it should be.
Come on, I want you to meet him.
Tara came into the narrative because I was like, how do you follow Seth Green? Well, she's in college, so maybe she finds a girlfriend.
If you wanted to try out some spells with it sometime, I wouldn't say no.
That was an important thing for people to see, but I wasn't thinking about them. As much as I wanted to make a feminist show, I really missed a lot of what was going to be important about the show. We just did it because we thought that was what you do.
Life goes by so fast. If you don't write stuff down, it just gets lost. And I want to remember. Done every last bagel. Down to every last everything I do with you.
We got a lot of letters. I think there were a lot of young people who felt very isolated. And to see two characters on a television show be accepted by a group of peers changed the game. We're saying that, like, if you find somebody to love, you're just lucky. It doesn't matter the gender, the sex, the whatever, you know. If you find somebody who gets you and you get them, you are so lucky.
I got so lost. I found you. I will always find you.
Relationships were always a part of the show, but when it came to Buffy, you were either Team Spike or Team Angel.
Where are they?
Spike was always the bad boy, but with Angel, he's a different kind of vampire. He's brooding and sexy and has some sensitivity.
I worry about you.
It was always about will they or won't they end up together.
I worry about you.
I get a hard time for this because I have an opinion as Buffy, okay? I'm not picking between James and David, people. People ask me who I thought Buffy's ultimate, and so I get a lot of hate and a lot of death threats. And serious, like, I don't like answering this question.
Take the fifth.
So what is it? There was something so beautiful about, to me, about the Buffy and Angel story. This is about Buffy and Angel.
Listen, I'm on the same page.
I adore James.
I'm a little upset right now.
But I just said, I said you. I said
So
you.
nice
I
of
picked
you.
you.
Thank you.
Where's the rose?
There's
I know.
you can find a rose. I think that Spike understood a different part of who Buffy was, and I think she needed to understand that and discover that. But for me as Buffy, I think Angel. Not Sarah James David. Are you going to bed? In a minute.
You know, I'm split right down the middle. Because in terms of a long-term relationship, Spike's kind of your guy. You know, he actually went and got a soul because of her, and he was evolved in a different way.
You got your soul back.
It's what you wanted, right?
But Angel's Romeo.
I love you. I try not to, but I can't stop.
Me too. I can't either.
You can't argue with the one that we know, that is the first, that is the most important. That's the grandest love story I will ever tell. You can't argue with that.
Maybe we shouldn't.
Just kiss me.
I was like, I had no idea that I could be such a dick.
You got a lot to learn about men, kiddo. Although I guess you proved that last night.
As a writer, you're like, oh, this pen is full of evil. I love it.
Hey, we were just talking about you.
Conversation's over, hell bitch.
For 6 years, loyal fans tuned in to watch Buffy battle the underworld. But viewers were equally obsessed with her love life, especially when it came to Angel.
What are you afraid of? Me? Us?
Could you contemplate getting over yourself for a second?
After 24 episodes of Will They, Won't They, the Slayer and the Vampire finally got together in season 2.
Just kiss me.
I think there was something so beautiful about that story of first love and, you know, and then they spend that first time together and it literally pushed him to the dark side.
After Buffy and Angel sleep together, we see him get out of bed and ride out into the night, and we know that there's something wrong.
And it turns out that him sleeping with Buffy has turned him into Angelus, which was his original vampire form who did not have a soul.
That episode where he turned, probably the most important episode in the history of the show.
Oh no.
Definitely changed people's perceptions about what we were doing, rocked people's worlds, but just even writing it. Writing the scene where he's just pretending he doesn't care.
Yeah, like I really wanted to stick around after that.
What?
You got a lot to learn about men, kiddo. Although I guess you proved that last night.
I was like, I had no idea that I could be such a dick. And it was powerful and beautiful. It was just, as a writer, you're like, oh, this pen is full of evil. I love it.
Come on, Buffy. Sound like I've never been there before.
Don't touch me.
Should have known you wouldn't be able to handle it.
I have a question that I am dying to ask. How many people knew about my death and when it was coming?
You died? Oh my God, I gotta watch this show.
Yeah. You knew? I know. And I tried so hard to talk him out. I was not happy about it. Hey, Mom.
This episode's unlike any of the others, and it starts with Buffy coming home,
Mom?
and she's looking for Mom around the house,
What are you doing?
and you see that she's dead.
Mom?
Her death was really unexpected and sent shockwaves everywhere.
Mom!
We find out that Buffy's mother died from a brain aneurysm, which was very shocking to see someone die from something so mundane on a fantastical show like this.
It's my mom. She's not breathing. No, I can't. She's not breathing.
That's one of my favorite episodes. It was. I remember Joss came up to me and said, "You know, I think I've written a good one, and I'm sorry, but you're not in it." And I said, "Yeah, I read the script, and Spike doesn't want to be within 100 miles of that."
I don't understand how this all happens, how we go through this. I mean, I knew her, and then there's just a body.
The moment she had in the body, where she gave that monologue, to me is one of the best moments in the whole show. She brought this humanity to it, and it was such a beautiful moment.
It's stupid. It's mortal and stupid. And Xander's crying and not talking, and I was having fruit punch, and I thought, well, Joyce will never have any more fruit punch, ever.
There are so many people all over the world who lost a parent and somehow were able to process and it helped them. And that's like amazing, because it's really hard to lose a parent when you're young.
The intent was to capture, I lost my mother when I was 27 in a car crash, and to capture just that first day, the sort of, the very sort of still trapped in amber, almost boring essence of grief. And it was not to provoke catharsis, it was not to answer questions, and of course it had, the exact effect that I was claiming I didn't intend to create. So many people came to terms with deaths that they'd experienced through that, and I realized that just trying to be honest about something small is going to do something big.
She's gone.
Which episode I always go back to, which I thought was going to be so cool. I always thought, I think you and I talked about this. I couldn't wait for the silent episode. Just a week of not having to learn lines. It was so hard.
so
It was
hard.
exactly.
Probably one of the
hardest episodes we've ever done. Was never so tired and physically exhausted.
But Joss was so specific about direction. I mean, like every little moment. Nope, that was beautiful, but you need to do it half a second later than you did it. It was all planned with an inch. It was pantomime.
The premise of the episode was a group called the Gentlemen, essentially ghouls, comes to town and removes everyone's voices.
Some of the most beautiful creatures.
No one wanted to sit at lunch with them. I felt really bad.
You're gonna die screaming, but you won't.
In the end, Buffy relies on her dream to kind of figure out how to defeat the Gentlemen. And what she does is she destroys this box of voices. And she gets her voice back and screams, and that sound blows up the Gentlemen.
As a fan, you were perfection in that episode. That's when I truly knew that I fell in love with the show.
It could be witches, some evil witches, which is ridiculous because witches, they were persecuted, wicked, good, and love the earth and women power, and I'll be over here.
And you guys got to do a musical. That was fun.
So we will walk through the fire and let it burn.
Joss had this party for the cast, and eventually some people started singing. And that's when he realized, like, ooh, these people have good singing voices. Like, we can do something with this. We can make a singing episode.
You'll get along. The pain that you feel, you only can heal by living.
Does jumping the shark, yeah.
I think it was your
jumping the
fault,
shark.
wasn't it?
It was.
Because you're such a
So-
good singer.
At the house.
Sorry.
You guys used to go to the house?
We used to read Shakespeare at Joss's house, and then at one point I brought my guitar and
Joss has
it's
a
party.
I hope she fries. I'm free if that bitch dies. I better help her out.
The musical for me was just kind of my ultimate just because it was just so different.
He snores.
She wheezes.
Say housework and he freezes.
She eats these skeezy cheeses that I can't describe.
It didn't matter if I sucked, if I sang, and like when I danced, because I wasn't hired to be a singer or dancer. And also, too, my character, if he sucked, it would have been great, so.
Am I crazy?
Am I dreaming?
Am I marrying a demon? We could really raise the beam and making marriage a hell. So thank God I'll never tell.
I just happen to be great at it.
The one when he's naked?
Wait, by the way, that was all the time. David used to think it was the David. Well, it's true.
It's shocking.
It wasn't shocking because
No,
he would do
it's shocking how often he was comfortable being naked and how giggly he is. It's like,
Did you see how I like the Grateful Dead?
used to do scenes
Went to
and he
Ithaca
would-
College.
He would literally
you know,
come
a little
out
bit
with
of a
no
gypsy.
pants on just to see if like you could keep a straight
Wait,
face. No! He would come out naked just to see if he could make me laugh.
Method face. Sorry.
no children allowed that day.
There were a lot of socks in wardrobe.
Lots of socks.
Not for David.
Everything sort of finds its way back somewhere. And the show is about growing up. So if we did it, you would see somebody going through their life at a different stage. It wouldn't be like, I can't believe we're still in high school. I wear Depends.
Brace yourself.
During its 7-season run, Buffy the Vampire Slayer won critical acclaim and a rabid fan base.
Are you ready to finish this?
But on May 20th, 2003, after 144 episodes, the beloved series finally came to an end with one last showdown between the forces of good and evil.
The series finale is actually still talked about as one of the best season finales and series finales of all time.
I love you.
No, you don't. So thanks for saying it.
In the final battle with the enemy, Buffy finally says she loves Spike, but he rejects her.
Now go!
And Spike steps up with a special amulet and delivers the finishing blow.
I want to see how it ends.
And ends up sacrificing himself to save everyone.
So here's the part where you make a choice. What if you could have that power? Now.
Within it, Buffy has this really powerful speech that she says to all of the potential Slayers, and it's really about female empowerment.
In every generation, one Slayer is born because a bunch of men who died thousands of years ago made up that rule. So I say we change the rule. I say my power should be our power. You know, I think that what was special about the ending was the whole lore of Buffy was into every generation one is born and she alone. And in the end, she said, that's bull. Tomorrow, Willow will use the essence of this scythe to change our destiny. From now on, every girl in the world who might be a Slayer will be a Slayer. You know what? We can all have the power, and she passed it along. Slayers. Every one of us. Make your choice. Are you ready to be strong?
It really was such a great bookend for a show that was all about empowerment.
Oh my goddess.
And then Willow casts a spell that activates all of the potential Slayers, and it kind of frees Buffy so she's not the only Slayer left.
I can feel them, Buffy. All over. Slayers are awakening everywhere.
So I hope for Buffy's sake that she's retired on some island somewhere and is teaching yoga to, you know, find her zen.
What are we gonna do now?
While the show ended, Joss got to continue the storyline in a series of comic books.
Joss Whedon wrote the first arc and still oversees all of the comics. And that first one is called Season 8. So it really picks up, and it's the real story of what happens to the characters next.
For a writer to continue the story in comic book form like this is pretty amazing because it's never been done before.
While the Buffy saga survives in print, fans continue to clamor for a live-action reboot.
Great, beautiful. If Joss is helming it, hell yeah. If he's not, hell no.
I think it would just be crazy if something like that happened. It would just make so many people happy.
Beautiful, great.
Everything sort of finds its way back somewhere. So I've been trying deliberately to move forward and do something a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, the great thing is that everybody looks great. And the other great thing is that the show is about growing up. We did it with these guys. You come back, they'd be the age, you know, that they basically are. They probably play a little younger because you do that, and they can. But yeah, you would see somebody going through their life at a different stage. It wouldn't be like, I can't believe we're still in high school. I wear Depends.
It's been 20 years since she slayed her first vampire, but the obsession with all things Buffy continues to grow.
Beautiful.
Since the invent of internet and digital media, generationally, the show's gotten introduced to people that were teenagers when it was on the air, and now they're introducing it to their kids. I'm still meeting like 12-year-olds who are like, I just watched season 4 of Buffy, and that's kind of insane. It's a bizarre experience.
The show holds up too, but I think that's the beauty of it, is that it's still relevant now and it still works.
Buffy was a way through the television set for a group of artists to tell the audience, you're not alone. We know how it feels. We've been through a similar experience. I got to be on a show that ended up mattering to people. And that's just beyond my wildest dreams.
The most important thing to me is that I've had people come up to me and say, this show made me feel different about what I could be, about what I could do, about how I respond to problems, about being or being with a female leader. People getting strength from my own little terrors there's no better legacy than that. That's it. That's why we write.
I think as an actor, you ultimately hope to do something that resonates, right? That people, what's your legacy? And I think for all of us here, we have been a part of something that's bigger than us, that still holds up. And I mean, it's all you can ever really hope for, I think.